Like to call to order the Thursday, August 22nd, 2024, Charter Township of Oxford Planning Commission regular meeting. If we could all rise and pay respects to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, can we note the roll?
Noted there is a quorum. Mr. Spiz and Mr. Ballard are excused.
All right, moving on to number 4, approval of tonight's agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda, Thursday, August 22nd, 2024.
Support.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, conflict of interest, ex parte contact. Have anything they'd like to declare this evening? Seeing none, move on to number 6, approval of the minutes for the Planning Commission regular meeting dated 8/8/2024.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Planning Commission regular meeting minutes of 08/08/2024.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, public comment on items not scheduled for public hearing or on this agenda. You are the public. All right, we'll move on to number 8, commissioners' comments. Anybody have anything they need to discuss tonight? The only thing I'll bring up, you guys all got an email about an upcoming training class that Supervisor Curtis sent out. If anybody's interested, get with Danielle. She can schedule that. I'm going to check my availability. I'd like to attend that. So if anybody else would like to get with her, and she'll schedule for you.
Okay.
Do we know when it is?
I don't have the date. I need to double check that as well.
Yeah, it was listed, I think.
Is that the SEMCOG training for the renewable energy, or is that something
Yes.
else?
Renewable energy.
Yeah, I couldn't find the date for it.
I thought it was just me, so.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'll get with Danielle and have her send a message out to everybody. And then, again, if you're interested.
Yeah.
Okay, number 9, public hearing. Seeing none, we will move on to number 10, unfinished business, master plan update.
Good evening, Mateo Paslacqua, Carlisle Wortman Associates, Township Planning Consultants. So just as we said, I think we've gone around the room and kind of discussed this, but Mr. Turner was kind enough to let us know that when he tried to watch the meeting from 2 weeks ago, he could hear me pretty closely, but he could not hear the commissioners very well. So as a public service announcement, when you're really leaning into your mic when you're talking so the camera's picking it up, and I guess maybe you can flag us down if they're talking and you can't hear them, or give them some sort of sign. Make it appropriate. So with that, tonight we are looking to solicit your feedback on the future land use map and 2 of the sub-area plans that were developed as a result of the meeting 2 weeks ago, in which we reviewed several of the levee sites, kind of discussed what their plans or hopeful plans were for those areas, their timelines, but then also the Planning Commission and the community's goals for those areas. So tonight kind of we'll look at the big picture, which will be the future land use map and whether or not it's in a place that you guys are comfortable and agree with. And then we will break down to the sub-area plans. As it relates to the future land use map, on the big picture perspective, as noted in the memo, we are currently going through the same process with the Oxford Hills ownership as we did with the levee ownership. In the essence that we're meeting with them, we're collecting notes on what they see the site being developed as. And once we have that formalized with our sign off and their sign off, we will present it to you and kind of go through the same motions as we did with the levee projects. We're hoping that that'll be on the 12th. I am very determined to make sure it happens by the 26th at the latest. So you will see that in September.
We do have a meeting on the 12th.
No, I know, and as long as we can get everything prepped in enough time to get it on the agenda.
This information.
Well, for Oxford Hills.
Oxford Hill, just for Oxford Hills.
Correct. That's kind of the last,
Now, when you say Oxford Hills, are you talking about the recreational property?
the golf course.
Yeah, because we have an Oxford Hills subdivision.
My apologies. Oxford Hills Golf Course.
Yeah, it gets confusing sometimes to me, but I get what you're saying.
No, even for the minutes, I appreciate you saying that. So yeah, so that will be, we will go through that conversation in September. So with that for this evening, what we wanted to do as far as the future land use map is the areas that we changed are highlighted in red, kind of working our way from top to bottom. In that top corner by M24, originally we had that kind of triangular sliver etched out for multifamily, but there was a comment made that should be office. So that change has been made. Then working down from there, of the levy sites, we left the large area light industrial as opposed to heavy industrial, and kept the residential area as 5 acre. Moving south from there on the west side of 24, we had some mixed use and commercial along Dunlap North, but it was discussed that light industrial was the better use for that area. So we retained that, and then the residential designation directly next to it is the 1 acre sites with the 2.5 acre sites, which is actually less density than what we started off with, I believe, on version 1 of the future land use map. I'll skip the sub areas because we'll get into those. If we work our way to kind of where West Market is, that area highlighted in red, there was just an error. In the future land use version 2, that was highlighted as a public recreation area. I'm sure the golf course would take exception to that, so we corrected it back to private. And that's it as far as the changes that kind of came from the levy conversation and our own internal corrections. The next step is reviewing the sub-area plans. But before we do that, is the future land use or the changes that we've made reflective, or do you feel that they're reflective, again, set aside the sub-areas, of what was discussed at the last meeting? Commissioner Nold?
I'm unclear on what you mean by sub-areas.
So the sub-areas are defined as the Dunlap Road sub-area across the street and the Ray Road sub-area. So those were the other two plans in the packet, and we'll discuss those next. But on the future land use map, they will be designated as sub-areas, and will direct the reader to go to that portion of the master plan where these images and the notes provided in the memo will be given.
So all the discussion we had 2 weeks ago on Thursday night has been rolled into this future land use map.
Correct.
Can you hear him?
Okay. Yep.
Can I ask one quick question? Maybe I'm off on something here. Because it's on Dunlap Road, but it would be on the north side, and it's outlined in red, but in the future land use map, but it's still designated as light industrial and research and development.
The blue area.
I thought we talked about that possibly being residential, but not. Was that something that I missed?
There were conversations because we did have some residential mixed into it. However, I think based on what Levy, at the conversation with Levy here at the time of the meeting, and the consensus of the commissioners was that that entire area should just remain light industrial, A, because we're trying to increase that usage within the community, and B, there's already a lot around that area. That's my recollection of the conversation. But that we had mixed use, we had commercial. I think there was some village residential in there, but all of that got shifted to light industrial based on the conversations.
Okay, because it carries further to the north and along the same line then on the property. And is that all their property to the north, all the way up to Market Road?
I don't know if they go all the way north.
Okay. Well, I know we got Excelsior Drive and all the rest of the stuff when you get up there. So part of that's part of that property now, I believe. Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
just
do.
want to make sure I'm on track.
Nope, I do believe they own all the way up to Hummer Lake.
I can look it up on my phone. I just didn't know if I had it.
I've got the packet from the last meeting.
Oh, okay.
So
when I look at that piece that's just due west in the yellow kind of color, orangish yellow, whichever you call it, what do you call it, orange? You're calling it sub-rural residential.
correct, 1 acre.
Okay.
And that's actually notched down from the densities that we were initially thinking Levy would be proposing, which were more of the 25,000 or to even 12,000 square foot lots. But that they said that due to their knowledge of the space, topography, wetlands, the larger lots are more feasible in that area.
Okay. Probably because what is not available may be water and sewer. I'm not sure.
That is
Acre, we can always do well and septic.
correct.
Okay. I think I'm back on track.
Are there any other questions, concerns with future land use as it's presented now? Again, based on the conversations with Levy and the areas that we've changed.
In these two larger gray areas, both the Dunlop and the railroad areas, are those within the service area for the township for both water and sewer, or neither?
No, they are, or they are, or they planned to be. At the last meeting, Sharp Engineering did some analyses for us on showing like what infrastructure is planned for the area, what infrastructure is there, how many REUs can it develop, and based on their assessment, the railroad site could accommodate, once it's built out, the 1,500 units that they're looking for, and the Dunlap site could accommodate 600, based on Sharp Engineering's assessment of the area. And we'll have that done for the Oxford Hills Golf Course conversation as well. And
Excuse me, what will you have done for the Oxford
the same thing that we had Sharp Engineering do for the levee sites,
in regards to
assessing the
accessibility of water and sewer?
correct. So with that, I mean, I'm going to put words in anyone's mouth, but it seems as though at least the future land use map version 3 is acceptable based on the work that we've done with Levy and the commission.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I think as we look at it, I mean, I have the railroad concept plan, the one that shows the levee portion of it, which is all what he talked about in this gray section here. So that is a coordinated effort with what we already have as the railroad concept plan, right?
Correct, and we are going to dive into these deeper
That's
next.
what we're going to talk about next, and then we'll
Correct.
talk about that yellow piece.
Like talking about like these yellow pieces. Yes,
That's
yeah.
the one right in your hand. That's
Yep.
the first one we're going to talk about.
We're going to move on to those after I get a consensus about the future land use map as it is.
So I have a
I got it.
point of clarification, so. all
Lean
the
it- lean into
dialogue that we had
Mike, I'm sorry, I know.
right here,
I know.
all the dialogue that we had with paragraph by location, that we talked about, and it talked about Levy would like to have this, we discussed it, those results of every one of those is folded into this new map.
Correct.
Thank you.
And the changes, again, we'll get into the bigger changes in the sub-area plans. If you recall, our conversation was, hey, we'll deal with this in
I
5
understand
years.
that.
Yep, okay.
But the easier fruit in the last week's meeting, 2 weeks ago meeting, we've got that covered. Now we got to cover the questionable areas that we ask you to come back to us with.
Correct. Correct. Did you have a question, Mr. Turner?
Yes. These changes that we want to make to these areas, you keep mentioning levy. And I know it's their property today, but how does this set up with the data that came back from the survey of the people within the Oxford Township as far as future development?
So I would say that with the exception of the sub-area plans, the other areas that we discussed, I think that they're generally in line with what we heard back from the community, again, about the lower density residential, kind of the outskirts of the township. I would say the sub-area plans, I mean, they are large, they're going to be large, dense developments, and those were not rated very highly in the public comment section, of the master plan survey and the community engagement. But there was some reception to if those developments exist, what do they need? Like, what do we require of them? And again, with landscape buffering, open space requirements, potential infrastructure improvements, things of that nature. But I would say the sub-area plans probably do not directly reflect the outcome of the survey and the community engagement. And that being said, the results of those were not atypical of a lot of communities where they do want to kind of see a slow in development pace, larger lots, more parks, more open space, things of that nature.
So when we get to the next step, which is the sub-area discussion, we're gonna have the same type of dialogue where this is what it is today. This is what the property owner would like it to go to. And then we're gonna have dialogue on if there's a consensus.
Correct. We want to go through the sub-area plans in the same way. There's some questions that we would like answered.
And we as commissioners need to sharpen our mind to think what was in the survey, what's in the existing master plan, what is being presented, and how that best fits in Oxford.
I would agree.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So future land use map, big picture, we're in good shape. So now let's move on to the Ray Road draft concept plan. Now I'll put it up on the board here. Give me a second. Okay. So this site, basically the questions that we have for this area are, does this plan reflect your vision of the area as planning commissioners and the duties that have been, given to you as far as representing the community, but then also representing the time and the knowledge that you have of the community. What of these plans should we keep? What should we change? What should we add? Again, these are very general descriptions of the way in which the site could be developed, and we put these together based on the conversations from 2 weeks ago and based on information from the 2019 plan and just general knowledge of working with the community, the east-west connector, the greenways, things of that nature. So as it relates to this sub-area plan, what are your, I guess I want to make sure I get everybody's thoughts here, so I'll work left to right on this and start with Commissioner Nold.
I'll hold back on that.
I will start with Commissioner Berger.
I have a question, because I know on this plan we have the commercial services area, which is really a kind of adjacent to M24, and it goes back so many feet in the orange color that you have on the map, on your plan.
Yep.
And then right behind it you have multiple family for a distance of I don't know how big an area that really is, just looking at this on a piece of paper. But multiple family would be, I guess, anything from a duplex to a townhouse to even apartments.
Correct.
Okay.
And
And that's what multiple family means. That would have to come in then as a PUD.
this whole thing will get developed in phases over time.
Yeah.
Now, one phase it may be better to go PUD. Another phase maybe go permitted by right, depending on what it's zoned. But it's likely that it ends up as a PUD because there's going to be a lot of back and forth on, the township would like this, the developer wants that, so on and so
So the
forth.
likeliness too would also be to the piece adjacent to it to the east, which is in the yellow. That more than likely to come in as a PUD.
I don't disagree. I think that's where this ends, whether it be in phases or in whole.
So we could have anything that comes at us under multiple family definition.
Correct. When you come in as a
But
PUD, the underlying...
PUD still requires a public hearing.
Yes.
All right.
And I would say as far as there's nothing concrete about what's being presented to you as far as, let's just say, I'm not saying that these go in as is, but general concept plans would make its way into the new master plan. They would be referred to on the future land use map, and when the time came for developments to come up, you are not held to this as in, hey, this area's got to be multiple family.
Correct.
This road has got to go
Correct.
here. It just lays out a general idea of where the conversation needs to start.
And I don't have a problem with that. I guess I actually think this would be something more than 10 years out, based on what I feel is still happening with the mining that goes on there. And I think there are other properties in the community which are not even in front of us tonight that will probably be developed prior to that 10-year proponent. Some as early as maybe 1 and a half to 2 years from now.
They said
We
in
have
the,
other land right now that could be developed that is ready to go.
yeah, they said that this site was probably a 5 to 20 year plan.
I'm thinking 10 in my head, because that's about as far as I want to take it. What we're doing right now with this plan, in my mind, when I look at what we're doing with this future land use map, is we're really mapping it out for about 10 years. I mean, I know it says 5 years,
Yeah,
but we'll reinvent a wheel again in 5 years, maybe do something
Correct.
different, depending on how population and all it works. But I look at this plan where, and my biggest note when I put down at the bottom of it was, could the lake get larger as time goes on? I mean, they're still mining from below,
yeah.
on the surface.
And again, the geography associated with the lake here is, it's just an acknowledgement that it will be
That's
there.
all it is.
Yes.
I can live with that.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
When we went, Tom, when we went out for our gravel inspection,
Oh, yeah.
that lake is 2 pieces now. It's 2 lakes, if I
Right.
remember right. And they plan to mine that and make one large lake out of it.
And it will get larger.
And it will get
Yeah, that's
larger.
how I interpret it.
Can you both make sure you talk into
Yeah.
your mic?
Thank you. I believe the lake, what he's talking about is it's in 2 components right now, with a sliver of property between them, which will probably be mined out. And I believe in the future the lake will obviously be larger. So what we're just looking at right now is a concept of what we think we want to do with this area for the levee piece, which is adjacent to Ray Road and contiguous along the line of Oxford Road.
Correct. So with that, are there any changes that you would make to this or would want to see made to this?
I'm probably okay with it as long as, when I look at single family attached and detached, it could go down to relatively smaller lots than what I might want in my brain, but because it could go down to even 9,000 square feet, I guess. But I don't think so. I think they'd want to see more detached single family homes and what sells best in the market. And I just don't know what the future's going to bring.
My take on the conversation from 2 weeks ago was that their goal is 1,500 units, but
Or what?
they're open to how we get
Yeah,
there.
Okay.
So, and again, when that time comes and there's a plan to be presented, we can look at how large lots are they proposing, or how small lots are they proposing when it comes to
Well, I
single
think it's
family
good that
housing.
we kept that 10-acre parcel portion up there along the north end of the property, and then we have the green belt there that's part of that preserve, which they want to keep natural, and then we kind of move into the 2.5-acre stuff, and then when we get down near the Ray Road portion, it is going to become more dense.
Correct.
I believe that in my own brain anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
I would prefer to see this section along North Oxford Road as either residential 2.5-acre lots, or maybe even something somewhat bigger, because on the other side of North Oxford Road are some large horse farms. And so that would be sort of a transition development. If nothing else, that one section there along North Oxford Road goes all the way up down to the corner of Ray Road. If you had a section there,
Just refer to larger single family lots.
yeah, or even 2.5-acre lots.
Right. I mean, I guess we do kind of refer to some acreage lot sizes in this area. So kind of we can look at maybe incorporating a strip along Oxford that would accommodate
Right.
those types
And
of
then
lots.
you could take what you have in this other area, the rural residential, 2.5 acres, and you could make that single family.
I think if I recall, there's something with the topography. There's something up that way that Levy even felt that those lower densities. And I don't want to put words in their mouth, but no, I think that we can take a look at, as we work our way east, identifying it potentially with a larger lot designation.
To have a subdivision on one side of the road and a 200-acre or 100-acre farm on the other side
Sure,
doesn't give you a very good transition.
sure.
So I'd like to see something along those lines done.
Okay. Commissioner Bailey?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I would even say the multifamily, almost shrink that down under this eventual road that will connect east-west Dunlap. And closer to the road, keep more multifamily across from the school, and keep the area surrounding the lake and that upper with the 2.5 acre lot. That might even give you more density along Ray Road, and then transition up
So you're thinking more multiple family along Ray.
along Ray Road
Okay.
and surrounding the lake, more of the 2.5 acre.
Yeah, I mean,
Excuse me, may I speak?
Sure.
Sorry. I've been gone too long, I think. I think right now what he just said, I understand what he said, but when I look across the street of where the multifamily is kind of designated on your map right now, it's more in line to where right now we have the Myers store and the little strip mall there, where we have the golf and the Ackett's Pie and all that place and the gas station, where it kind of fills in there. Where the single family attached and detached are designated in this yellow portion, they kind of line up more with across the school property where the asphalt parking lot is and the ball fields and such from that. And then you go into the Oxford Road portion of it, which Mr. Turner brought up good points. I think he means the people on the east side of Oxford Road have farms, and some of them are larger horse and equestrian type properties,
sure.
which then he wants to see as larger lots. So I wouldn't have a problem taking a strip of that property off of where you have it designated in yellow, kind of towards the green line, which is your planned greenway connection, and taking that down to those 2.5 acre lots like he said. And then make the other portion with a multiple family where it's located behind the commercial, because that's what's going to fit there anyway. And then right across from where Myers is already commercial on the south side of Ray Road, and then where the school is, keep the family and detached single family there. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. I mean, I think
If
that's
anybody,
Dividing line here.
well, I just hashed it
Like
all and said take it like that.
Right.
Mr. Chair,
Sir.
I'll talk into the microphone the
Thank
best
you.
I can. But behind those 2.5 acre proposal that Commissioner Berger made, they go from Ray Road to the lake. If you had single family dwellings on the lake, and then you would move to the 2.5
2.5 acre lots.
2.5 acre lots, then you have the road that allow them to capitalize on the lake.
I'm sorry, with 2.5 acres on the lake or 2.5 acres on the other side of the road?
You'll have to talk into Tom's mic.
Sorry, like see.
He's trying to talk about
Yeah,
where
there you go. Show me.
you know where you got the green line that tucks.
Yep.
Yeah. 2.5 acres in this, a stretch through here of some sort, single family, then they can capitalize on the lake for single family.
Okay.
But are we
Just
getting
ideas.
too far into the weeds on something that's 10 years out?
I mean, I think it's fair, again, knowing that where that line differentiates between single family and multifamily is not hard and fast. I think we're well within our means here to add if this delineates a little bit from here to here. Again, it's just kind of setting the stage that what the Planning Commission sees for this area is a varying array of housing styles in basic locations.
I have a question about the mixed use. What can go in the mixed use? What type of residents can go in mixed use?
So, are you asking? There's no mixed use proposed for this site.
Sorry, the multifamily.
So, multifamily could be like attached single family. It could be townhouse style. It could be apartments.
What's the chances of seeing all three of those in one area?
In an area that big, I would say a fair chance.
I would think you'd definitely see a fair chance if you looked at townhouses and duplex units, because those seem to be things that are popular. I don't know how long into the future, but definitely now that we can't build fast enough.
I don't think there's any,
If we
yeah.
had the properties available for that, we'd have a lot more in front of us right now.
Okay. Commissioner Wolosek?
Let's see. I agree with what Bob indicated about developing like houses across or in that neighborhood. My mic on? Am I okay?
Yeah.
That's a good point he brings up, and I support that. I wonder about the roads. You know, I know that we talked earlier before the meeting about the line in black showing across the screen for an east-west road, and about that could vary. That could go in different directions and meander through that property in some way. You know, as I was mentioning, thinking about that would be a very busy corridor, and you know, if you have residential close to a lake, you probably want to have the more premium lots. You know, probably want to adjust where that is exactly going through the property. I think about how families would get to the school, like either if something was presented as a PUD, you know, something to enhance maybe a tunnel or a bridge over, would that be Ray Road there? Make sure I have that right, to
Yeah.
get to the
Yes.
school.
Correct.
Because I know there's a safety path that was just installed there, right? Everything, we all know that. So I think those would be great enhancements for that area. And I'm not sure if we try to capture that somehow in this plan, some sort of a corridor to the school.
I think, so what I would recommend is, in the memo here, we kind of highlighted these bullet points of like things we want to see.
Right.
So I think we could add something where, you know, that there's some sort of safe consideration for crosstown traffic as well as access to the schools.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. I like that. Thank you. And let's see. The I just want to point the screen if that's okay. If there's a road that's paved here, is there an opportunity to take this road further south?
So,
In the future, obviously, but it looks like that might go beside a future area that would be developed, and maybe connect that to Lakeville Lake Road. I actually
Okay.
think that might have been in the master plan at one point. That north-south road. I'm not sure.
A quick one on that. When you look at the Koenig property right now where the gravel mining operation is,
yeah,
when you go up to the north end of their property and you're on Ray Road, we took several years back, we went and walked all that. And that property goes downhill so fast. I mean, it's a very, very steep drop off. Put a road network going in that direction to take Oxford Road due south straight would probably be a very difficult task because of the lay of the land.
yeah. For reference, I've got the satellite image of the area up here, so it would.
You would go right through the Koenig property, which would be really
Right.
tough to do.
It seems as though trying to address north-south as it relates to that is really going to force, it will be forced around this operation and the lake.
Yeah.
So I think my guess is that because most of those folks in one fashion or another will probably be headed in the direction of M24, your traffic focus for wanting to see improvements is probably, you know, through North Oxford Road and through Ray Road.
So getting to the middle school, you know, through our discussions with the steering committee, the middle school is a problem at times with traffic. And that just, it seems to be a bottleneck, so I'm just looking at how that we might be able to support that, especially if you develop more residential units to the north, getting those vehicles or getting the traffic to the middle school and just improving circulation.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think kind of the bullet point that we can add is, you know, traffic, you know, managing traffic, you know, as it relates to, again, through traffic headed to the schools, just trying to big picture of like what kind of pathways are we going to intentionally create with these roads, and what pathways could we potentially unintentionally create because people find their way you know, once the road's there, people find out it's a shortcut, and that wasn't necessarily on your radar. So when
Right.
the time comes to start thinking about the development, the phases, where are they going to put what and where, we can kind of think about what that road looks like, what it connects to, where else it goes. But really, it's there to kind of just place a stake in the ground to say we want our east-west connector. You know, obviously, Mark, there was hope for Market at one point in time. It's been a little diminished. But here, Dunlap comes there, it crosses over into Dunlap comes up through that area, it could cross over into this new road, and we need it. So that, again, where it is could completely change, but the fact that the township wants an east-west connector is established.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Have we brought the schools in on some of those discussions, the steering committees and things like that? Because I know we hear about all the traffic and bottlenecks around the schools, but that's because we have so many people that are not taking advantage of the buses and dropping kids off, picking kids up. How do we entice those people to put the kids on the big yellow bus that we pay for?
I'll think about it. Nothing. I mean, again, I get it. I mean, today it was funny. I was up in that area, and no one had to tell me that it was the first day of school. I was up there at 3:20, and that was a mistake. So I get it. And again, thinking about this development and the way it'll feed into the schools, I don't think it's necessarily a capacity issue for the school district, but it could definitely turn into a traffic one. And I think that's where that's when we start to see plans presented for something like this. That's when traffic engineering becomes a massive part of the conversation.
I have one last thing I wanted to add. I think that as we expand away from, say, the center village and continue to go outward, say up M24, and I know this maybe isn't, it's probably the road commission, but adjusting speed limits down, because that corridor, people fly as soon as they get out of the village. You can hear them; they're on the gas and they're flying going north. But I just wanted to say that to the commission here today, that I hope that we can somehow influence some speed limit changes or some other ways of making that safe for, as we put more residential units closer to that 55-mile-an-hour road north of Meyer in that area, that we can have some influence and hopefully make that as safe as it possibly can be.
Yeah, I mean, duly noted.
That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, so with that, I've got, I think we've got some consensus here that further to the east, maybe we want to call that out as a little bit larger lot along Ray Road. We want to maybe see the multiple family kind of swing down and follow, North Oxford Road for the larger lots. And then along Ray Road, have the multifamily kind of swing down and face more of the Ray Road area. I think those are kind of the two big edits that I've taken away from tonight's notes. Is there anything that I've missed? Anything else that you guys would like to add for this?
The only comment I have, are you planning to, when you swing the multifamily down, are you planning to make that map size larger? Or are you planning to keep it the same size but just swing it down?
I would be adding multiple family and removing single family attached detach. Is that answering the question?
Yeah.
We have this area here that's called multifamily.
Correct.
If you swing it down into here, are you going to make this smaller?
No.
So you're going to make it larger?
Correct.
I'm not in favor of that.
Okay, no, that's good. I'm glad you've clarified. So what you want to see is this roughly the same geography dedicated to multifamily, but more dispersed along Ray Road.
I'm making a suggestion.
Okay.
So this is so much property.
Correct.
If you bring it down to here, as much as you bring here, this property should be decreased.
Correct.
You have the same amount of property for multifamily, but in an L shape instead of this shape.
That's fine. So what gets bigger? If you're gonna move the multifamily
I would suggest that you put single family
up there. Okay. Okay.
because that will help
The lakefront.
the lakefront. Correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Because if I heard you correctly, 1,500 seems to be their target number. So if we're decreasing the single family, obviously multifamily's going to grow to hit that magic number close to.
Well, which I think what Commissioner Nold is proposing doesn't make one bigger or larger. It redistributes. So we're still there geography-wise.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'm sure just a couple things real quick. So 1,500 in that area, that number, I think I say it and I hear it, but doesn't make sense when it actually gets placed on a layout. I guess that's maybe a further discussion, but I just start questioning densities and, you know, does it really work in that space and how does it? I'd hate to sit here and say yes, I agree to 1,500, but then it gets put on a plan and it gets presented, and we look at it and go, wait a second, there's a lot of deviations that are needed here to make this happen, or if deviation is the right word, I'm not sure.
Well, if it's
Changes to the.
if it's a PUD, it's whatever gets negotiated back and forth. No, I get it. I mean, 1,500 is a big number, and I would say that there would be some. If that's what makes its way into the master plan, is kind of stated that approximately 1,500 units in this area, that, you know, if a developer brings that in the right fashion, again, PUD back and forth, gets the consensus, that would be a number that they, I don't want to say would have a right to, that's the wrong word, but that is a fair goal for them to set for the property. If they can prove that they can make it work within what the Plan Commission's requesting, then you're kind of in a position where it's like, yeah, the master plan supports it. So if that number, you know, you should think about that number. But I mean, again, it was discussed with Levy from the perspective of the big picture for them is that number. How they get to it, they seemed very open to.
I just sitting here have no idea how that would look on this plan, right? That's what I would be hesitant to say, sit here today and commit to, and then a year from now, if we have to look at it, and we're put in a tight spot where they're going, well, you said a year ago that you could do 1,500, and we're trying to figure that out.
But
it could be an awkward position.
Your pushback on that is, yeah, we are the right way for the right development,
Yeah,
for the right improvements.
Zoning and current standards, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that's the back and forth of the conversation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
So if we adjust the future land use map to this, and the planning commission agrees, what precedents are we setting in other future land use maps being adjusted to higher density?
I don't know. I mean, I guess every piece of land, big or small, is its own story as it relates to location, infrastructure, topography, utilities, traffic, so on and so forth. So I don't think saying that you're open to density here ties you into saying you're open to it elsewhere. I think every area tells its own story and has its own considerations.
Thank you.
How many acres is this total?
I knew someone was going to ask that.
Yeah, I just look it up, I couldn't get it.
I know, and they let us know at the last meeting. I mean, here and now, I can't get it for you, but I can.
I'm just trying to think.
No.
I mean, if you were putting 1,500, how many acres is this? I mean, average, is it an acre per house or home, or half an acre? How would it average out?
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, I know
again,
looking at 1,500, it's like, wow, that's a big number. But
Yeah,
if it's close to 1,500 acres, it's not as dense as we think.
yeah, it's nothing. It's something that I could have. That we can take a look at, and maybe that. No, and again, acres is another tough one because you're talking gross acres, you're talking net acres. We don't know what net acres is going to be because we don't have roads. The lake's not done. We're having setbacks. So gross acreage is deceiving.
Right.
But again, my apologies for not having that
That's okay.
off the top of my head.
well, do we really need to put a density number on it?
No. And I don't think you can, because again, it's calculated off net acreage, and we don't know what net acreage is.
So why show 1,500?
You mean, well, we're talking about acres, not units.
No, I'm Going back to units.
units. Well, again, it's what was presented by the owner. I mean, I guess I would have to defer back to whether or not. I mean, it could come out. There's nothing holding you. There's nothing holding you to saying we see 1,500 units here. Sorry, I'm just taking notes.
Well, yeah, you know, this property abuts a piece of property that was George Black. And his property, when you look at his acreage, and I can pull up his acreage with my phone right now, and I start chunking it in my brain kind of across this property of what Levy has, and it's well over 1,200 acres. I'm gonna, approximately guess. So it's a pretty big piece of land.
Oh, it's huge.
So, I mean, I'm looking at it, on my phone what I can map up. I can't map the whole thing up because I can't get Burroughs Corporation to do it. And that's who technically owns a piece of this property, is under Burroughs. So, but George Black's property, which is technically up there next to this, on the north end of this Burroughs piece, before it goes up to that Hunt Country Estate 10-acre lot portions, that's a lot of acreage.
Oh yeah.
So you're probably well over more than 1,200 acres. So if you look at it from that standpoint, you're probably talking about maybe one or a little less per acre.
But again, net acreage.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know, because you're going to take out lakes, you're going to take out preservation, you're going to take out all that other land
Roads.
and roads.
Yeah, I mean.
About 15% normally, roughly, by the time you do storm sewers and roads.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have one last thing.
Oh, we got you on video from.
I know. I think that it's worth asking, as we're looking at this east-west road, the black line, that we draw a north-south road off of Gillespie. Asking the developer to help us with that northwest or north-south corridor. If you could show up the master, can you bring up the
Which one, the aerial or the?
Future land use?
Yep.
That road right now that's proposed, that black line
Right.
here, have them give us something there, some traffic to get through here.
I mean, I think they would. Oh, to tie into the east-west. Okay.
I think it would too. It seems to be a natural.
But just to be
Thing
clear,
what?
that's Oxford Road, correct? I think.
Yeah, it's Oxford.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I just want to make sure I get it
It's
right.
Oxford, goes right along the high school. Okay.
Thank you.
Oxford goes up to the red line and then it goes to the right and then it goes up the other red line.
Okay.
North Oxford goes up here,
Yep.
goes over here, and goes up.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm turning my mic off.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
And I'll point them out on the map.
Future land use or a sub area?
This one here.
Okay.
Is this a park area?
No, actually, based on the shading, I think that's water.
And what's this? Green.
The lake as it is now.
No, I know the lake is.
No, but I know that's
Where the lake is.
the lake is now, and the lake that we're showing is the connector between the two.
Okay.
Maybe what we can do is better delineate that here. Did you have a question? Or was it just what that green area is? Fair enough.
What those areas are.
Yep, okay.
I thought maybe the darker one was a park of some type.
Nope, I gotcha. All right,
That's it?
I've got great feedback on the site. Any other questions, comments, concerns with this one?
Nope.
Okay.
Last questions?
I'm all set, thank you.
All right. Then we will move on to across the street. And same exercise. So this is the Dunlap, what Seymour Lake and Granger Road concept plan. And again, the future land use map, it's shown as such. Let me get my map here. So again, with this one, we're looking to solicit feedback. This one was, there was kind of a goal discussed of 600 units. And that was based on, again, current sewer capacity for this area. So towards the north, we have the single-family attached residential, attached condos, things of that nature. To the south would be the single-family attached and detached, which could be another mix of exactly what it says, single-family attached and detached. And then out to the west is more the rural residential. So yeah, again, kind of the same exercise. What are your thoughts? What would you add? What would you change? And give me, actually, while hold on one second, just to give a little bit more context to this site. This site, when in the conversations with Levy, was identified as likely being developed in the next 1 to 5 years.
And that would be what I was going to say would be possible when I said there are other sites going to be developed sooner.
Oh,
Basically because of the pavement of Dunlap Road. Dunlap Road, from what I understand in conversation today when I came back into the office this afternoon, was that it would be in 2026 for pavement.
okay.
So that to me is a year and a half out, which means at this time, this property is going to become more developable.
Yes.
Because you're going to have that swing road of pavement all the way over to 24.
No, agreed.
So when that happens, and I think that we have the DTE power plant right there across the street on Granger Road at the corner of Dunlap and Granger on the northwest side.
Yeah.
Due to the nature of that land right down through there when you drive Granger Road when you first leave Market Street, I think that's a higher density area anyway because of what could possibly fit there and what would work for a balance of buffering. Because nobody wants to build a high-end home, but the higher-end homes are going to be on the value of that lake that's there.
Yeah.
So if we do a little bit of a larger lot along the lakefront, and then we do multiple single family like you have already planned in there, it's the brown color. I guess it's brown.
Well, so the single family attached residential to the north would be a denser designation.
I don't have a problem with that because of what's across the street
Yeah.
right now.
And then to the south, it works its way into, again, probably what will be an array of different lot sizes with both single
There
family.
is one thing that got me confused, and I looked at it again today. You go all the way to the end of this property to the west, and it goes to Coates Road.
East. No, I'm sorry, west.
West. Yeah,
Yep.
don't mix me up here. And there's a little teeny lake in there right now that people are on. And we built some pretty expensive homes on that lake, too.
The southern portion of it, outside of their property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's one gentleman in particular built a pretty nice home back in there. I think it just went on the market for 7 digits plus, whatever it is. Anyway, I want to make sure we keep that 2.5 acre portion along that area, and that's consistent with what you got here, those 2.5 acre parcels, right?
Yeah.
Keep that buffering going to those other properties because there's some nice home sites in there.
Yeah.
So, and there's also some nice home sites on the lakefront just south of that. I've been back in there a few times and watched some of them go up in construction at the time. So, you're talking single family attached and detached in that yellow zone,
Correct.
and that just leaves it open for another PUD to come in and say, this is what we may want to do. We might want duplexes, we might want townhouses, we might want little teeny tiny single family homes, detached or something.
Correct.
Because I like the detached homes they built up there at Oxford Hills next to Indian Lake Road and M24. Robertson Brothers put that together, came in and modified their site plan, created less density and put in multiple single-family detached homes there. Those are nice-sized little houses. They're 1,636 square feet. And I think there's a demand for that in this area, where they don't get too large that people can still try and afford to live where they want to in Oxford.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that.
Okay.
So I think the plan looks pretty good to me. I would love to see Dunlap paved, and I'd like to see the pavement, and that's what I think you have in black, going across down the north end of this piece, to be paved to an entranceway into the
Yeah, paved.
parcel if it became developed. I'd love to see Granger Road paved to at least to where it goes into this.
That's kind of what this indicates, is that wherever the site would access Granger, it should be
That's
paved
what
up
you're
to.
keeping in mind, and I'm for this plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
I would agree with that.
All right. Commissioner Turner? Or Commissioner Bailey, anything else with this one? Okay. Commissioner Turner?
I'm all set.
Okay. Commissioner Willisek?
The as on a Granger, as we go, there's the DTE area at the corner that Commissioner Berger mentioned. If we go further to the west, all the way to the end, past where the black line is, where it wouldn't be paved, are the homes across the street from there? Is that part of? I'm thinking about, like homes across the street. If we go really dense there, with where it says the word "single" for single family,
Mm-hmm.
on the information in the packet you gave us.
Yeah.
Okay, you're looking at something else on the screen there. Okay.
Well, I'm trying to look at the area, the homes that you're talking about.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I guess I just wanted, to see consistency, like some similar across the street, right? Not a drastic change. I think those neighbors would be pretty upset if a really dense, if they were on 5 acres or 2.5 acres, and then a bunch of 9,000 square foot lots got placed on there.
Well, that one, so the area designated along Granger there, that is single family attached. So it would not necessarily be like a 9,000
okay.
square foot lot. It would
It
be
would be
like an enclaves style development.
okay. So I guess as long as we have some buffers in there or something to protect, we're considered our neighbors is what it boils down to, right?
So from the perspective of we wouldn't have units facing Granger. There would be an entranceway to a development that then has buffer along Granger, but has the attached units. Yep, I see. Yep.
Looking out for those people here.
Correct.
Because that road would probably stop, the black line stops here.
Well, you're talking about the pavement that we're proposing? I mean, I would say it's roughly halfway the distance between. So I don't necessarily. I mean, again, this is all bird's eye view stuff. Who knows when the day comes?
Right.
Well, right now it shows 5 homes across the street on Granger Road that would be across from the borough's property, where their property line stops.
Yeah.
Now, there are other homes across the street that continue on Granger Road,
Right.
but their property line stops at 5 homes past the power plant. So when you count 5 homes
Right.
down the street, that's where the property line stops for the borough's property. Because I just pulled it all up, and I agree with what he says. Where we could create a buffer then on that corner to implement something to create a space between the people that continually drive to the west. They drive to the west on Granger, but we should be able to put a buffer in there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see a problem with us getting a buffer out of that property at all.
No.
Agree. Thank you. Let's see. The Dunlop paves, great. We talked about the green line, the greenway that's discussed
Yep.
in the bullet point of the packet. Thinking about how that would extend further to, and I know it's going off this property, but where it splits the two on the golf course, it splits the ITC line, split those two golf holes, and goes further to the east. That's not part of this discussion, right? Although that's maybe a longer term plan
Correct.
for that
Correct. Like as we had kind of discussed.
that Oakland County Regional Trails Network, the bullet point number 2 under this.
Yeah, how that trail would connect up to anything to the east, and what it, excuse me, and what it would be to the east wouldn't be really dictated by what we're talking about here. But the purpose of it here is to call out that a greenway connection through this development, should be considered and a part of the development itself.
Right. And is there an opportunity to try to get an east-west road through this? Probably really not, is there? With the lakes and I don't know about topography. And this is more of a, I know I'm asking a lot of questions and I'm thinking about this. Some of the commissioners had the benefit of walking some of these properties because of other, is it a board or a committee that you're on for gravel inspections and things like that? Would there ever be the opportunity for us to walk it and look at some of these things to get a better idea what this property looks like.
I mean, it seems as though the landowners are accommodating to those types of requests, whether or not it's something that you can do.
Not on my own.
Well, no, I mean
but
from
it
the
would be-
perspective of, yeah, no, I just mean from the perspective of if the reason you're asking is to walk it, get a feel for it, and then provide feedback on this, the time frame for that's pretty tight.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
But I
it's
think
gonna happen.
I would think again that the developer or the owner, again, whoever that may be at the time, obviously we're discussing levy, people can sell property, people can transfer property, things of that nature, but I would think that it would not be an unreasonable request when the time comes to talk about specific developments in this area for the planning commission to request a tour of the site. And if I'm not mistaken, I have to double check, but when proposals for properties or developments are put forward,
Right.
I think the application in and of itself allows us some level of authority to go to the site and look around. So,
I have a quick one.
just real quick, are you good, Mr. Rosa? Or
Well, yeah, just
Commissioner
a
Rosa?
comment of if there's possibility of getting some sort of a, again, connector roads, east, west, north, south, more for the development to access the roads outside, not trapping them and, thinking about some other, challenges we've had, like on Stony Lake, there's always, that kind of comes up
Yeah.
about traffic through that road and how that might have been, less than desirable for those people in that community because they get a lot of traffic through there. But Dunlop will probably fix that, right? Or at least help.
I think again, this group, I mean, this group might actually have some feasibility to make their way out to Baldwin, but I think the majority again is going to naturally start to flow towards 24. And I think between what you would have in a Page Dunlap, a Seymour Lake, and Market, there is access there. I can't speak to what that access looks like once there's 600 units on the site, but it's there. But in general, you're asking, is there a quick glance that we could give for the opportunity of more connector roads through the site?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we can look at it. If they're identifiable, we can put them on.
Thank you.
No problem. Commissioner Berger.
Well, back on what he just stipulated for road work, when we had a developer come to us at one time to develop the Koenig property, the whole planning commission organized an event to go out there and look at that property and walk it from all different perspectives, from Ray Road, Lakeville Road, pulling into the site and looking at all of it. The same thing could happen on this property when a proposal comes to us to try and dictate what they want to do with it. We would be well advised to put an organized group effort together and go look at that property. I've looked at some of these properties only because Mr. Nold and I sat on the gravel mining ordinance committee, and we had an opportunity to look at a lot of the stuff that Levy already owns around us and the Burroughs Company and such. So we might be a little more familiar with some of the lay of the land and a couple of the other planning commissioners. But we have the opportunity to put those organized events together.
No, I think it's important, and I think it's in all parties' interest that
I think
that
it's
it
in
does happen.
everybody's interest to go look at it.
Yeah, agreed.
We just have to be mindful of the open meetings, because if we have more than 3 of us, it's
We
a
worked
quorum, so
all that out too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, then I think I'm to you, Commissioner Nold, when it comes to this site.
I have no problem with it.
What's been discussed? Okay. All right, well, with that, double check, but I believe, yeah, I've got what I need for the future land use map in these sub areas, and as I had mentioned earlier, we will go through the same process with the Oxford Hills Golf Course, hoping to do that on the 12th, but at the latest, the 26th, if I'm quoting my dates correctly.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead. Please, John.
We had a very important meeting here tonight, and it's disheartening to see no one from the residents here. But basically, what we approved tonight, or excuse me, laid the groundwork for, along with the developments over there on Drainer and M24, is about 2,700 homes within our community to be placed here within the next possibly 10 years. There's 2,700 homes, just 2 occupants per home, is going to be over 25% of our total population within this community. So this board has got a major responsibility in developing and putting things together of how we going to proceed in this township. And it's very interesting to me to note that we don't have anybody from the residents. We have a master plan survey that the residents are very clear, and I'd be interested to see that if that master plan survey was in line with what we just talked about tonight. So those are my concerns. Thank you, sir.
Can I ask one question? You referenced 2,700 units.
Yes, sir.
When I do the math, I get to 2,100 of what we discussed tonight.
And I added some homes that we've already approved
Okay.
over on Drainer and M24.
Gotcha.
And of what we've already approved, that's nothing in the mill, but what we've already approved, you start adding those together, and I'm not a mathematician nor am I a world scholar in your field, but that comes about 25% of our population that we've just put on a future land use map. Added to our future land use map.
Well, you guys are, you're at about 19,000 right now. You're projected to go up.
I put
Yeah, I
out
get
20
you. I hear what you're saying. It's a lot of folks.
Yeah.
That's what. Yep. I got you.
Just one last thing. The similar to the 1,500 units on the first thing we discussed, this one references 600. I just want that, I guess, that caveat there, right, about it, making sure that I'm not sitting here agreeing at this point in time that 600 units works, because we just don't know how it looks on the space and how it lays out.
Right.
And I just don't want there to be that conflict again, that a year or two and whenever from now somebody goes back and says, well, you agreed to 600 units back in 2024, so.
I don't want, because it is such a sensitive matter, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't see a reason why those numbers could not come off.
Okay.
Um,
I guess I just wanted for the record that I can't sit here and agree to 600 or 1,500 units on these parcels because
who knows?
I'm not informed enough.
Yeah, and we're not looking at a plan.
Right.
We don't have a site plan in front of us. So I don't see a reason why. Let me, just to make sure that I'm not missing something tucked and hidden away, let me just confer with my superiors. But I don't see why those couldn't come off, because I think the intent of the designation still shows the planning commission is open to development in these areas. There's just boxes that need to be checked.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll have a seat unless anyone has any more questions for me.
Okay, we can move on to number 11, new business, which we have nothing on the agenda. 12, communication committee reports. Anything from the Economic Development Committee? He's not here tonight, so we'll move on to the Ordinance Review Committee.
Okay, the Ordinance Review Committee met today, and we continue to work on at least 2 ordinances that we hope to bring forward in September. One having to do with electric vehicle charging systems, and the other one doing with changing the process of doing changes in the organization. I think that basically covers it. We're planning to meet the 12th of September, so we'll get back on schedule after this month.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for that? All right, moving on to 13, planning engineering reports.
Only thing, just in day-to-day township life is we're in the process of reviewing a preliminary site plan for an expansion of a building that Barron Industry owns. So we're kind of in the middle of that right now, and just trying to figure out when we can get you guys in front of them. I think there's some things they need to work out, but we're not done with our review, so I'll kind of hold it there.
All right, his comment, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Is that in addition to their existing building they're trying to do?
No, so north of
A separate building?
Oakwood, they purchased the building north of Oakwood on Adventure Lane,
Oh, okay.
and they would like to take that building and expand it.
Oh, okay, so it's not on their property that they have now, it's not their existing building, it's another existing building that they want to expand.
Correct.
Probably where Copo was?
You would know better than me.
Okay, that's where Copo
The
was.
building is vacant now.
They went over to Excelsior, so now that's vacant spot.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else?
No, I'm sorry. No, I got nothing.
Any last comments or questions? All right, if not, we'll take a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion that we adjourn at 8:09.
Support.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.